What's going on? Albie with Albie Fitness Gaming, and you've seen the title of the video, you know why you're here. Celestia Company. So if you saw my previous video, I discussed about how well I think this deck is currently in Modern. I think it's probably the best deck. I've also mentioned how Auriok Champion is the card of choice in this slot here. That's the only card currently that I feel in this deck you can like play around with and you know, brew with. I think everything else is pretty standard. Like you need, maybe you can replace maybe you can play another Captain Ranger of Eos and remove, you know, one of these 2-drops. But you know, the other change that you see a lot of is the Arbor Elves and the Utopia Sprawl versus the Birds and the Nobles. The Birds and the Nobles, they have their benefits just like the Arbor Elf and the Utopia Sprawl, so that's up to you. Depending, in my opinion, what cards you're playing here, these, you know, kind of flex spots, is whether or not you want to play this combination or the Arbor Elves and Utopia Sprawl. Because we are playing Voice of Resurgence, we definitely want these. These play better with Voice of Resurgence. Voice of Resurgence, the reason I think this is a good card in this deck, well, first of all, let me just tell you, I've already played Wall of Roots, Wall of Blossoms, which have been really good in the deck, and that's what led me to go to Voice of Resurgence. Now, Voice of Resurgence is, you know, one of my favorite cards because when I first started playing Modern, I was playing Birthing Pod, and Voice of Resurgence was such a house in that deck because whenever an opponent had to play on your turn, you got tokens. Whenever you sacked your voice, you got tokens. There was so much value, and he beat down. So it was one of those cards that, like, it did everything these green-white creature combo decks want to do, right? They want to have a combo, they want to beat down, and they want value. And if they can put a little bit of hate bear here and there, you know, we'll take it. Voice of Resurgence, like, fills all those roles. I know people, like, criticize this card and make fun of it, but this card is really strong in these type of decks. There's a reason why all these green-white combo style decks, you know, from the beginning of Modern have always adapted to using Voice of Resurgence. For example, in this deck here, you have it as a beatdown creature, right? It helps you beat down. One of the reasons this deck is so powerful is because not only does it have a solid combo, but it also has a really solid beatdown plan. The great thing about Voice of Resurgence is it does not interfere with your combo. It does not dilute your combo. It just makes your beatdown plan a lot better, right? Because the creature beats down. You get tokens that help beat down. It gives you value because it replaces itself. And on top of all that, when you're going to combo, most likely the opponent has to play on your turn. So if you have Voice of Resurgence in play, guess what? They can still interact with you, but they're going to be heavily punished because you're going to be generating massive tokens, right? So the card just fills in all those boxes on what we're looking for. So here I have a match that I pulled up here for you guys that I wanted to show you. So as you can see here, as you saw there briefly, we had a few tokens. I'll show you real quick. So we have some big tokens, you know, counters from the Gavany Township. The opponent didn't really do much there, but you can tell they played on our turn and they were heavily punished, which forced them to scoop. I mean, they were going to die anyways, but we're playing against, so real quick, we're not sideboarding against them because we don't know what they're playing, and our deck is work fine there. So we're playing against Madcap Experiment. I didn't know this until like the second game. And what they want to do is they want to cheat in the Platinum Imperior as soon as possible. I think it's usually either turn 3 or turn 4. 90% of decks probably lose to that, but because this deck, like I mentioned, you know, this is why I really think this is the best deck in Modern currently. This deck is so resilient that it just still overpowers that. Even without having to use the combo, we still overpower that, which is insane, especially since we're a combo deck. It's busted, man! Anyways, let's jump into the game here. Alright, so, hand not too good. Not good at all, so we're going to go ahead and ship this back. So this hand is good. It has pretty much what we need. It's not a 10 out of 10, but it will do. The weakest card in this hand is Horizon Canopy. It's the one that gives us, you know, that doesn't really do anything what we're looking to do. We're going to have 3 mana and a bird, which is just enough to cast a Collected Company. And, you know, we do have Gavany Township which we would like to use. So we're not going to be sacking that Horizon Canopy for a while, so there's really no reason to keep it. That's why we got rid of that instead of getting rid of a basic land. So another forest here. We're just going to play the typical bird and pass turn. One of the other things that I like about these green-white decks is that since they have a pretty straightforward game plan, both of their game plans are straightforward, combo or beat down, a lot of the times you don't really care what your opponent's playing, which I think is a huge benefit in Modern, because in Modern people play all kinds of weird stuff, you know. So Conclave Mentor here, really good card in the deck, especially with Gavony Township. So Path to Exile there, that's fine, because that's going to accelerate our mana, and this deck uses its mana very, very well. So Blood Sun here. I haven't seen this card in a while. I know people used to use it back in the day. I think I saw a Tron deck used to use it. I'm not sure. It was when it first came out. You know how people are. They like to brew stuff. Card doesn't really do anything against us right now. I mean, it shuts off our Gavony Township, but we do have Skyclave if we ever feel that we need to get rid of that. Also, we're like a few turns away from actually wanting to use our Gavony Township anyway, so that card's not a problem for us right now, currently. So at this point, I'm looking at the opponent's deck, and I'm assuming it's some type of combo deck with like prison style stuff. I can't imagine that they brought in Blood Sun as a sideboard card, but maybe they did because we did win last game using a Gavony Township. That may be a possibility. They could not even think that we're a combo deck. They could just think that we're just some green-white value beatdown deck. And they feel that that might slow us down. So here it is. The cat's out of the bag. Madcap Experiment. Now they got a beatdown creature. Like I mentioned, most decks would have just scooped here, packed them up, and went home and started watching Digimon or whatever those kids watch. But here, you know, we're still playing. So Voice of Resurgence plays a very, very key role here. It's not just a 2/2 Grizzly Bear here. What this is going to allow us to do, one, it's going to give us 2 chump blockers if needed. That's 2 extra turns. Also, what it's going to do, it's going to force the opponent to have to play on their turn. They've showed us already time and time again that they like to play at the end of our turn. So now they're going to have to play on their turn. They can play on our turn all they want, but they're going to be punished. So, because I know that, one mistake I see a lot of people do is they love to chump with Voice of Resurgence, and you're using the card wrong. That's not. You want to get as much as you can from your green-white cards. Like we're not playing the strongest cards, so we have to get our value out of them. So here, we don't want to get rid of our Voice or obviously our Spike Feeder. So we're going to go ahead and throw the bird in front of the Empyrean here. There's no need. You know, like we don't need the extra mana, right? And we're not going to be able to take advantage of the Gavony Township currently. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of the bird here. We are hoping that we eventually draw another creature, or that our opponent plays a spell on our turn so that we can have another chump blocker. Because again, I don't really want to trade my Voice off so early. So right now I test the Gavony to see how it works on MTGO with the Blood Sun, because normally it'll show you like a little text like you can't be used. It doesn't say anything, so I just want to check that out. So birds, good here, just another chump blocker. To me it's like, okay, we got another turn. Here I was gonna like attack with the Spike Feeder, but I remembered like their life total doesn't change. I you know, for some reason I thought that they just can't die, but yeah, it doesn't change, and there's no reason to attack. They could have a Snapcaster and, you know, block, and then that would suck, even though we do get a token. But so they play at the end of our turn, just like I mentioned, and we get another token. So now we have another chump blocker if needed. And these tokens are just going to get bigger and bigger as the game goes. Eventually, they're not going to be able to attack into us. So Teferi here, and at this point here, and I don't play this deck, and this is where I ask you guys to comment at the bottom and let me know if you feel the opponent misplayed or if they could have played better or if they could have done something else. Obviously, they have 0 cards in their hand, so it doesn't even come down to, well, we don't know what they have in their hands. So the opponent attacks here. I personally don't think you attack here. Because if you don't attack here, right, like we have to get rid of that Teferi. We can't leave that thing alone. So we're forced to attack with the Spike Feeder and the Voice, and we're going to have to lose one of our creatures to get rid of that Teferi, right? So we're trading one off for the Teferi. Here the opponent attacks, which allows us to choose what creature we want to get rid of rather than allowing them to choose one of the better creatures. You know, I mean, another option we could have done if they didn't attack us is we could have moved a counter to the birds and then attacked the Teferi, but then if they attack us, we just have to eat the damage. I mean, when you play all the scenarios, at least in my head, I don't think the attack was the best. But you guys let me know in the comment box if you agree, if you disagree, and why. So here, since we have the Conclave, we have a nice little interaction here where we can remove a counter from Spike Feeder and re-put it on the Spike Feeder, and it actually gives it an additional counter. So now as the game goes longer, we can continue growing our Spike Feeder. So now, out of the 3 creatures we have, we definitely do not want to trade off our Conclave or our Spike Feeder, so we are going to chump block with the Voice of Resurgence here. Now, they have 0 cards, and we just got rid of the Teferi, so, you know, that's a fine trade at this point, because, like, Voice already kind of did what it needed to do. It got us an extra chump blocker, an extra creature, and, you know, they had to use the Teferi on it, which allowed us to kill the Teferi a lot easier. So here, you know, I'm thinking, you know what, we can take this here. There's, you know, again, and this just shows you the value and how much value I do put on the Voice of Resurgence, how important I think this card is. So I don't block. I say I'd rather just take the 8 here, you know, and leave that Voice around because I don't want the opponent playing on our turn. I mean, they can do it if they want, but I want them to be punished for it, right? And that's what Voice does. And we can always cash it in, you know, as a chump block, and then we'll get another token. So here we're just going to continue removing counters from the Spike Feeder using that neat interaction here with Conclave, and we're just building this massive Spike Feeder here. And if they ever draw a path, right now it's boat proof, so if they ever draw a path, we can just gain a bunch of life. And you know, what we're doing right now is the opponent, you know, they're drawing 1 card. They're kind of like they have this one big threat that they're trying to ride to victory here, and all we're doing is kind of just sitting back, blocking, gaining life, you know, prolonging the game because we know we can eventually get ahead. One problem we can run into is if opponent starts drawing. I don't know if they play Snapcaster Mage in these type of decks, but I'm sure they play Cryptic Command. You know, the whole Cryptic Command, you know, Snapcaster combination, you know, bounce snap, tap your team, draw a card. You know, that shenanigan can be a problem. So here we draw the Skyclave. I'm just like, all right, you know what? Let's get rid of this Blood Sun here because now we can start utilizing this Gavony Township. Now the token is going to be huge. Now we're going to get double tokens because of Conclave. And now you're really seeing how strong the beatdown plan is on this deck. Right? Like, we're at a point in the game right now where we don't even need the combo. We're beating down with Spike Feeders, Conclave Mentors, Voice of Resurgences. Like, think about that. Just think about it. So we're going to have Gavony next turn. Pretty soon our Spike Feeder here is going to be a lot bigger than the Empyrean. So opponent gets a nice little 3/3 flying shark here. Sharknado. Nothing too threatening, especially since every turn we can like put a couple of counters on our Spike Feeder and just technically gain a life every turn if we ever need to, if we're taking 3 from the shark and we ever feel like we need to start gaining life. So Snapcaster Mage here. And this is, this is the scenario that I hate about these decks. Not that I hate, but it's just like the annoying part, right? Like Snapcasters into spells, into cryptics. It becomes very, very hard. So the opponent is definitely, making a comeback here. So they go for the path on the spike feeder. At this point, we're gonna obviously remove all the counters here, but we could leave one counter and take the land. But I don't value the extra land as much as I value the extra 2 life. And the reason is because since they currently do have a flying creature and we don't have any way to interact with that creature, because even if we draw a Skyclave, there's nothing we can do. And we didn't bring in any path. I mean, we can draw into birds and chump block, but I'd rather have the 2 life here than the land. The land's not really going to do anything for us. We have plenty. So back to 24 here. Not back to 24, up to 24. So our opponent's going to have a long night. Dinner is going to be cold tonight. So Sharknado coming in, just like expected. Helia in the house. We have 4, so Heliot will turn into a creature if we play it. Heliot will make it 5. But I decide, you know what, it's better. We don't really need to play Heliot right now. Let's go ahead and just pump the team. And as you can see here, Conclave Mentor with Gavony Township is just brutal. I mean, we have a 4/4, a 6/6, a 2/3, and a 4/4. Next turn, we're going to be able to just outpower them. So obviously we can't deal any damage to them currently. So we're going to have to combo them, but we can build a board state from this position because our beatdown plan is so strong that they can't kill us, right? And if they can't kill you, they can't win the game. They can't win the game, folks. Nice little interaction here with Lotus Field and the Flagstones of Tarkir to ramp. I don't think I've seen that one yet. You gotta love Modern. You gotta love Modern. Opponent coming in again with Sharknado. They got 2 cards in hand, and we still have our Voice of Resurgence live and well in play. So we're doing a good job here because they're not attacking with that Platinum Imperial. It's kind of just sitting there, protected, like keeping them from dying. So my thought process here, the reason we're going for all these Gavony activations was, for one, right there, the reason I did it is because I wanted to see if the opponent would play a card in response, so we can get a token, but they didn't. So I said, all right, well, let's just throw the Heliot. So the Heliot gets mana leaked, and that's fine again for us. I don't think it was really going to do much. I mean, a little bit. I mean, it does help, but we do get a 5/5 out of it. So now the opponent definitely can't attack into us. Our creatures are just too massive now. And now it's just to a point that once we get rid of that Platinum Imperial, we're going to win the game. But we don't have a way to get rid of it. So how are we going to win? How are we going to win? So opponent has only one option. Attack with Sharknado. Use Horizon Canopy here. We need something to get rid of that at Empyrean. We definitely want to either gain infinite life here. With infinite life, I mean, they're not going to be able to kill us, and we can eventually get into our walking ballistas, and just win the game that way. I mean, how brutal is Gavony Township with Conclave Mentor? It's pretty brutal. Sharknado in again. Our life total is starting to get a little low, so, you know, now we have to start thinking. We got, oh, and there it is! Archangel of Thune. If they don't have an answer for this, they're going to be in very, very big trouble. I was just thinking there, like, if they had, like, Mana Leak, but we had 3. You know, just trying to think real quick. Is there any counter spells that we have to worry about that we need 4 mana up? So now we have Archangel of Thune, and it's in play. I'm assuming they may have something to interact with it. So we're not going to, like, immediately chump block here, because they could have Lightning Bolt. Although, if they do have Lightning Bolt, you know, I mean, the other option is they have, I mean, I think it's Flame Slash might be a thing. Sure, they have ways to get rid of it if possible, but opponent doesn't attack here, which, like I say in all my videos when you're playing these green-white decks, once your opponent has to win the game by attacking and they don't attack you because you've gotten to a board state where they can't attack into you, like, they can't beat you. You're going to win the game, right? Like, there's no way for them to come to beat you. So, boom, again, Voice of Resurgence coming in. Like I said, doing what it needs to do. Look at the power of Voice of Resurgence, Gavony Township, the beatdown plan on this deck. I mean, even though we can't even win the game with damage, the opponent is put in a position where they can't do anything. They have to wait and wait until then we decide to win the game. So we're going to put the Spike Feeder on top. And we're going to go ahead and attack with the Archangel of Thune here. Because it's going to get really, really big. And for some reason, if they have another Bolt or whatnot, they will have to block and give away their Shark. And we're going to get another Elemental token. But even with that, like, there's no way for them to kill this Archangel of Thune, right? Yeah, because it would be a 6/8 if once we activate the Gavony Township here. So they decide they're not going to block, which tells me they don't have Lightning Bolt or any removal at that. I mean, they may have Path, but I mean, that gives us another token. So now we go back to 18. The team gets Humongous. Huge! Huge! And this is why I wanted to show you guys this game, because it really allows me to show you what I've been talking about. Like, why Voice of Resurgence, Gavony Townships, Conclave Mentors, and the Mana Dorks, and these style of decks make the beatdown plan so good. So good. Like, I don't even think our opponent knows we're a combo deck. Nah, I'm sure they do. Otherwise, they would have not done that to the Spike Feeder. They would not play the Ether Gust. You know, but I mean, there's nothing they can do, man. We have a 14-14 and a 12-12 that they gave us for free. So now the team, super pumped, super ready. And now we can gain infinite life. We have more cards technically. So we're going to win the game. There's no other way that I could think of that this deck wins the game. So, I mean, I don't know how they would win. If anybody who plays this deck can tell me, hey, there's another win condition, they can do this. So opponent scoops it up. So I'm assuming they don't have another win condition. We would have obviously gained, you know, a few hundred life. And then we also can have the life link. I mean, yeah, they would have not killed us. And, you know, based on card and deck, they would have decked themselves. Anyways, guys, there you have the deck. Let me know what you guys think about Voice of Resurgence. Is it impressive or what? Have you tried any other cards other than Auriok Champion? Or maybe there's other cards you've been messing around? Let me know in the comment box. Also, let me know if I did any misplays, if I could have played the deck a lot better. You know, just let me know. We're all here to learn together. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, share my videos. It helps out a lot. And thank you again, and peace out.